I am the Highland scribe, scribe to the stones, to the winds, to the bloodlines that walk unseen. Come closer, closer still. You see, the fire's warm, but this tale tonight, this tale runs wild. Now, last we left Elspeth, she was heartbroken at what had happened to poor Bron. Now, let's see what happens next. Chapter 7. The Tears That Called the White Stag. Each morning, Elspeth walked to the loch. It did not matter that the frost still bit at her fingers and made them nail-nipped, or that the reeds stood brittle in the cold. The path kent her feet now, and the crows, well, they no longer startled at her passing. She came because she had to. She must. She would stand at the shoreline where mist rose like breath fae the water, and she would wait for a sound, a shape, a flicker of golden eyes beneath the surface. But Bran never came, and so she wept. The tears came without permission. They were quiet and steady, like the rain upon peat. They slid down her bonny little cheeks and vanished into the loch, drop by drop. She wondered if the water would remember them, or if it would one day rise with her grief and carry it back to him, wherever he had gone to now. The villagers, well, they all avoided her. Some crossed themselves whenever she passed. Some left small offerings of salt and iron nails near her path. Old superstitions creeping back like rot through stone. But no a single soul spoke to her. Only her grandmother. She watched her with a quiet, bone-deep sadness. She had kent, long afore Elspeth had, and still she couldn't have stopped it from happening. Love is a thread that frays, the old woman said once. Not in unkindness, but it's a magic that binds, even though it cuts deep. Elspeth nodded, not in agreement, but simply because there was nothing left to say. She kept the amulet in a linen wrap now. It no longer burned. It no longer whispered. It was just a stone. But she carried it still, pressed to her chest, beneath her blouse. A weight she had chosen, a burden that she would not shed. On the 13th morning, the loch was yet to get silent. The birds didna sing, the wind didna blow, even the reeds stood motionless, stiff with silence. And Elspeth found that she couldn't cry. She'd walk the winding path up the hill to the stone circle, not knowing why, only that her legs had carried her, as if she was called by something older than a memory. She reached the summit just as the sun broke through the clouds. The stones stood as they had done before. They were tall, cold, unmoved. But she Well, she was not. The weight of everything had crashed down upon her. The love that she had dared to feel, the price. Oh, the price he had paid for it, and the world that had turned its back upon the bond that had shattered. It was in that moment that she broke completely. She fell to her knees, hands pressed into the mossy earth, her chest heaving with the soundless sobs. Her grief spilled into the stone, into the winds, into the marrow of the hill itself. "Come back," she whispered. "Please, I didna ask for this. I didna want this." Her fingers dug into the ground. "I just wanted you." And then the wind began to change. No a gust, but a shift nonetheless. She looked on and watched as the trees began stirring, though there was no breeze, none that touched them. The clouds began pulling back as though they had been held upon a string. The world became a different still now, as though it was listening. And a voice, low and rich, spoke from behind her. "You are standing where judgment was passed, and yet it seems justice wasna served." Elspeth turned very slowly. A man stood at the edge of the stones. But as she looked closer, she realised, not a man. Half cloaked in shadow, half lit by the sun, his form was tall, broad of shoulders and straight of back, wrapped in a long grey coat, finely stitched, looping silver threads, like the mountains themselves. His hands were gloved in ash grey leather. They rested lightly at his sides, unthreatening. But his head, as she looked closer, it was as white as moonlight upon the snow. Fur so pale it shimmered with a bluish tint in it where the light touched, and his eyes were of the cerulean blue, not cold but clear, like looking over the sea. She couldn't breathe for a moment. "You are Elspeth of Stenness, are you no?" he said, his voice smoother than silk now, and touched with something gentle. "The one he loved." Her throat clenched. "Who are you?" The figure stepped into full view now of the stones. "I am called many things," he said. "Best to say it in your tongue. The closest I can come to is Farith, head of the circle of the bound." She blinked. "But you're one of them. A Wulver." He inclined his head. "We are no beasts, lass, nor are we myth. We are older than myths, bound by the law, oaths Oaths deeper than blood, and one of ours broke them. For you. Her fingers curled against her chest. He loved me. Yes, Fareth said. And love, though rare among us, is no forbidden. But bonding is, because it cannot be undone, no without a cost. He stepped further into the circle. The very air around him shimmered, as though reality shifted to let him through. Elspeth, the stone you carry still marks you. The oath is broken, but the mark remains. And it has called us. Why? Why now? She asked, voice raw. Why not before? Why didn't you come when Bran was... Because we are not ruled by kings, Elspeth. We are ruled by the circle, by an ancient order. We watch, we listen, and only when the threads twist too tightly do we intervene. Tears began trembling in her eyes once more. Fareth looked down at her, those bright, unblinking eyes, impossibly kind. And the threads, well, they are twisted now, he said softly. What he did canna be erased, but it can still be understood. He reached into his coat and pulled out something wrapped in pale linen. Her hands shook as she took it. Inside, black fur and a single fang and the smallest scrap of silver threaded cloth. Bran didn't die in vain, Fareth said. He held the breaking line, and in doing so has revealed a flaw in our laws. What does that mean? She whispered. Fareth turned his head to the wind, as if listening to something in the distance. It means the circle has called a gathering. And you, well, you, Elspeth, you have been summoned. Me? You touched what shouldn't be touched, and you lived. The wind picked up again, curling around them both like an unseen tether. His eyes glanced upon her again. Come, he said, let us see whether the laws we follow still serve the world that we live in. I am the Highland Scribe, scribe to the stones, to the winds, to the bloodlines that walk unseen. And until the fire lights again, sleep tight, wanderers.